Earlier, we shared that when we started creating content, every video that blew past 100,000 views had a few things in common. So we wrote these things down, and when we applied them all, we were able to consistently get millions of views on new accounts from day one. We turned that list into something we like to call the heat and repeat strategy. Kinda catchy, right? Which stands for hook, eliminate the lulls, add a payoff, tap into relatability, and repeat. These are the 5 key strategies that have helped our students get literally billions of views. They are the fundamentals of creating engaging content, and they apply whether you're making funny videos in your house, educational content to sell products, or producing videos entirely generated by AI. So let's dive right in. The first and most important thing that every viral video needs is a compelling hook. I'm sure you've heard this before, but if there's one thing that can take your videos from 200 to 2 million views, it's becoming a master at creating great hooks. After all, if people can't get past the first 5 seconds, it does not matter how good the rest of your video is, since they're already gone. So, how do we hook people in? The key to a great hook is creating as much curiosity as humanly possible. Creating curiosity can be as simple as adding a text block at the beginning of the video that says, wait for it. But the more curiosity that you can create, the more views you'll get. So I'm gonna show you some tricks to take it to the next level. I'm gonna give you the same hook 3 times in 3 different ways so you can see the difference between a bad hook, a good hook, and a hook that got over 19 million views on my channel. Number 1. I just made pulled pork sliders using jackfruit, and it was actually pretty good. This hook creates 0 curiosity. You're not even curious about how the sliders turned out because I gave that away in the first 5 seconds. There is absolutely no reason to keep watching this video, so I guarantee it would get 50 views. But there might actually be a good content idea here if we rework it. Let's add some more curiosity. I'm gonna see if I can make sloppy joes using jackfruit. Now there's a little bit of curiosity because you might be interested in seeing how the meal turns out, but it's still probably gonna get a couple thousand views because we haven't given people a good enough reason to care. So let's add even more curiosity.
Apparently jackfruit can look and taste like pulled pork, so I'm gonna try and trick my husband.
Finally, we have a hook that actually gives you a reason to care and something to look forward to by the end. People were so curious to see whether I could trick Glenn that video got over 19 million views. We go through this process for every video we create. Usually we'll start with a mediocre hook and rework it until we have something that feels like it has viral potential. My rule of thumb is if someone's phone died 5 seconds into watching your video, I want them to lose sleep wondering what happened or scour the internet to try to find it again. Here's a few things that you can do to quickly add curiosity to a video. The first is stakes. The hook.
This is what we do every time our daughter poops. Highest card changes.
Highest changes.
Got 9 million views because there was something on the line and people were curious who would win. Next is a knowledge gap. Introduce something that people want to know the answer to. A great example of this is the career ladder. It's a format that's gotten billions of views where the host has 2 minutes to guess what a random stranger does for a living, and people are just curious to find out. A great knowledge gap is the key to viral educational content. Another way to add curiosity is by promising a reaction. For some reason, as humans, we are extremely curious to see the way that someone will react to something, whether it's an exciting surprise, a prank, or something as mundane as trying fake pulled pork. A 4th lever for adding curiosity is introducing a great premise. For example, our If Tesla Ads Were Honest video introduces a funny setup and people are curious to see where we go with it.
Do I drive a Tesla because I think it makes me better than everyone? Of course not. I know it does.
A great way to tell if a concept is going to do well is if you are genuinely curious where the video is gonna go. Glenn had an idea to try making butter chicken ice cream in our ice cream maker to see if I could guess the flavor. Before even creating the video, he knew it would go viral because he was so curious himself whether it would work and what my reaction would be. For the record, it was disgusting. The next thing every hook needs to go viral is context. There is a fine line between curiosity and confusion, and if someone's confused, they will almost always scroll. You need someone to understand in 3 to 5 seconds why your video is worth their time and what they're gonna get out of it. Here's an example. We made a video for a local tourism board where we asked a local to be our guide. And by adding a text block at the beginning, people understand why they should keep watching within a couple seconds. If we had left that out, it would almost take 15 seconds for people to get to that context, in which time they would almost definitely have scrolled. But if you think a hook is just delivering a catchy line to the camera at the beginning of your video, I think what I teach you next is going to be a huge unlock. We actually believe that there are 5 elements of a strong hook: verbal, visual, text, caption, and audio. These are the 5 tools that you can use to grab someone's attention, and it's exactly what we teach in our Art of Hooks course. But don't worry, I'm gonna give you a quick overview right now. The first and most important element is what you are actually saying to camera at the beginning of your video. A great verbal hook alone can take a video to millions of views. The second is the visual hook. The first thing that people see when they scroll up on your video has a massive impact on whether or not they're going to stick around. If you're in a dark, boring room, your chances are way lower of going viral than if you're walking through a pretty scene in nature. The third is your caption hook. When people are watching videos, the caption is actually the last thing that they look at before they scroll away. So use this as your Hail Mary to keep them around. Something as simple as, "I can't believe that happened," is enough to spark curiosity and make people keep watching. The fourth is what we like to call the text block hook, which is 3 to 10 words in a block at the beginning of your video that either adds context or hints to a payoff. Like the Honest Ads example, if it wasn't there, people would have no idea what's going on. But having that context makes people curious about what's gonna happen. And finally, the 5th is using audio to hook people in. Your audio needs to be crisp, easy to understand, and you can even use audio elements to add another layer to your hook. That's a brief rundown, but if you want to deep dive into becoming a master of each of these elements, you can find our Art of Hooks course in the lesson description. Okay, so now you've got people's attention with a great hook, but how do you keep it that way? Number 2 in our heat and repeat strategy is to eliminate the lulls. I'll explain this concept briefly because we're going to be diving further into it in the content editing lesson, but essentially you want to remove any filler from the video or moments that are unnecessary to the story. The hard truth is that if you bore your viewer for more than a second or two, they're scrolling, even if you've nailed that hook. This means taking out lines that don't need to be there. Any ahs, oohs, ums, really any dead space at all. The next time you're scrolling social, I want you to pay extremely close attention to the moment you scroll past a video. Chances are the video slowed down or veered from what hooked you in the first place. The more curiosity you create from your hook, the more the viewer is willing to sit through to get to the payoff. But it's a delicate balance, and you should assume the audience has the attention span of a baby monkey. Don't worry, we'll be teaching you exactly how we keep videos engaging by eliminating those lulls later on. The third step in our heat and repeat strategy is to add a payoff. A payoff is what's going to keep the viewer watching until the very last moment of your video. This is an important detail. A mistake I see a lot of creators make is they put their payoff in the middle of the video. One of Khan's golf videos had the hook,
If you had 12 dozen shots to get a hole-in-one on a par 3, could you do it? I think I can, and I'm about to find out right now.
Over 1 million people heard this hook and were curious enough to keep watching to see if he could pull it off. If he had given away the payoff 15 seconds in and revealed the outcome, you've gotten what you came for, and you'll be scrolling on regardless of how great the rest of the video is. This in turn would tell the algorithm that your video is a flop because it's only getting a 15-second average watch time. That's why you always need to make sure your payoff is in the last few moments of your video. For this example, the moment he either gets a hole-in-one or finishes hitting all of the balls and fails the challenge, we have a few seconds to end the video because we know that the viewer is scrolling since their curiosity has been satisfied. Here's a few more examples of adding a promise of a payoff. In the jackfruit example from earlier, the promise of a payoff is seeing Glenn's reaction to trying the fake pulled pork sandwich. If you see a video of someone skateboarding with a text block that says, "Wait for it," they're introducing the promise of a payoff, which could either be a fail or something impressive. In educational content, the promise of a payoff is teaching the viewers something that will improve their lives or satisfy their curiosity. Here's another example. A lot of people create content sharing recaps of their vacations with a hook that's something like, "Come with me on a trip to Vancouver Island." And that's exactly what I was going to do after getting back from a trip with my family, but it has no promise of a payoff. So I decided to take a closer look at things that happened during the trip that might spark some curiosity in the viewer. And here's what I came up with.
My daughter has a phobia I've never heard of, and it absolutely ruined our vacation. Let me back things up a little bit.
Within a few seconds, viewers have a deep curiosity to find out what the phobia was and how it ruined the vacation. Since the hook is just me talking to camera, it relies 100% on creating enough curiosity that the viewer feels the need to watch to the end, and the promise of payoff is finding out what the phobia is. That video got over 1 million views, and 90% of the script was me talking about what we did on that trip. Just like if I had started with that boring hook. One important note on promising payoff in your hook is you need to to actually deliver on your promise if you want to have longevity as a creator. I saw a video a while ago with a girl who was sitting in this human-sized water balloon filled with Diet Coke. Don't judge me, we've all been roped into watching a silly video like this. Anyways, someone was dumping in Mentos and the hook said, "Wait until the end, it pops." I watched for almost 2 full minutes of anticipation only to find out it never pops. And I hopped into the comments and there was hundreds of angry people venting together about how disappointed they were in the 2 minutes of their lives they had just wasted. If you want longevity on the platforms, never do this. And here's how. Take a look at your hook for the video and make sure that whatever payoff you promise in the first 5 seconds is resolved in the last 5. The next step of our heat and repeat strategy is to tap into relatability. Adding relatability is going to create conversation in the comments and make your content a lot more shareable. Let me explain. You associate everyone you know with categories, whether it's the car they drive, what they eat, their hobbies, their likes, their dislikes, and you can take your content to the next level by tapping into those relatable topics. For example, people have passionate opinions about things like Crocs, Tesla cars, gas prices, Coke versus Pepsi, the list is endless. These are pretty universally relatable, but if you're a parent, relatable topics are things like screen time or meltdowns before you leave the house. Every niche has relatable topics, and you should be extremely aware of what they are when you create your content. Let's look at the AI Honest ad we did for Yeti coolers as an example. The video has over 50,000 shares because it's a relatable topic. Most people either know someone who has one or have a strong opinion on them, which makes that video extremely shareable. If we had used Igloo coolers, the video would have flopped because it's not as relatable and doesn't have as much of a cult following. Another example is a video where Glenn challenges me to guess which pop is Diet Coke from a lineup. A lot of people can relate to getting mad if a restaurant has Pepsi instead of Diet Coke. So the video got over 3 million views. But if we had picked another pop like root beer, it wouldn't be relatable and the video would have flopped. Okay, here's the last piece to our heat and repeat strategy, and that is to make your content repeatable. If you have a viral video, but it's not repeatable, then lightning will never have the chance to strike twice. The slam dunk for viral content is finding a format that can be recreated by changing one element that will land every time. This will save you an unbelievable amount of time brainstorming new content ideas, and it will help your audience to know what they can expect from you, and it can be the key to extreme growth. Great examples of this are Mr. Beast with extreme challenges, Zach King with optical illusions, Caleb Simpson with how much do you pay for rent in New York City? The list goes on. When my dad wanted to dive into content creation as a career, we told him to start every video with, "Excuse me, can I caddy for you today?" Then giving every stranger a golf challenge. He followed this exact format until he had hundreds of thousands of followers and dream brand deals. The same goes for my personal channel. I found that the format of surprising or trying to trick my husband performs really well. So instead of reinventing the wheel, I can simply find new ways to bring that format to life. When we got 19 million views on the video tricking him to try jackfruit, it inspired me to repeat the format with Clamato juice. Both videos performed super well, and now I have a guide to follow so I can come up with more concepts in that vein. Your goal should be to find a few different formats that perform really well on your channel that you can repeat. This is going to save you a ton of work and keep your audience engaged. Don't worry, we are going to have a whole lesson on finding a format for your niche later in the course. Okay, we strongly believe that those are the keys to viral growth on social media. And if you can master all 5, not only will you be able to take videos from 200 views to 2 million, but you will be unstoppable as a creator. From now on, I want you to put every video you do through these 5 steps. Does it create massive curiosity in the hook? Have I removed anything that doesn't add to the video? Does it have a payoff in the last 5 seconds that satisfies curiosity from the hook? Is the video relatable? And if I were to go mega viral with this, is there a way that I could change an element and repeat this format? If you can say yes to all 5 of those questions, you might have a viral hit on your hands. As an exercise, I want you to go through any content that you've created and see how it performs on this checklist. If you haven't created enough content to do this, just scroll through social media and see if you can predict the videos that will do well without looking at the engagement. Typically, by thinking about this checklist, you can tell which videos are going to pop off in the algorithm just by watching them. We've included a physical version of this checklist below, and we highly recommend keeping it close for all your future posts.